just shot a man for no reason.
5 days after Rayshard Brooks was shot and killed by Atlanta police officer Garrett Rolfe, Paul Howard, the Fulton County District Attorney, announced an 11-count indictment against Rolfe, which includes felony murder.
The possible sentences for a felony murder conviction would be life without parole, or the death penalty.
According to District Attorney Howard, Rolfe shot Rayshard Brooks twice in the back as he was running away, with one of the bullets piercing his heart. A combination of available video, including police body cameras, shows Officer Brosnan approach Rayshard Brooks, who's asleep in his car, in an Atlanta Wendy's drive-thru line just after 10:40 p.m.
What's up, my man? Hey, come in. Hey.
Officer Brosnan wakes Brooks up and asks him to move his car to a parking spot. A few minutes later, Officer Rolfe is on the scene, starting to question Brooks.
Your Honor, hey, I just got something to eat. I went to visit my mother's gravesite. I'm not causing any problems.
Brooks is given a breathalyzer.
Just take a deep breath in, put your mouth over the mouthpiece, go as hard as you can until you stop. Blah, 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 stop.
The officers then give Brooks a number of other field sobriety tests, and at this point, Brooks is doing everything he's told to do.
3, 4, 5.
Asking if he can just walk home.
I can walk home. I don't have to.
Why would you walk home?
I just don't want to be in violation of anybody. I can walk. My sister's house is right here.
Then everything changes when the officers decide to take Brooks into custody.
I think you've had too much to drink to be driving. Put your hands on your back, boy. Here, put your hands on your back. Hey, stop fighting!
As Brooks begins to fight, there's a struggle over Officer Brosnan's taser.
You're gonna get tased!
Brooks wrestles the taser away and breaks free. Officer Rolfe gives chase with his taser in his right hand, but then, watch, he switches the taser to his left and draws his gun. Meanwhile, Brooks, while running, turns back and fires the taser he took from Brosnan at Officer Rolfe. Seconds later, Rolfe fires his handgun and Brooks falls to the ground. Brooks was taken to the hospital but died during surgery.
On the docket tonight, the shooting death of Rayshard Brooks at that Wendy's in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's bring in our guest joining us, Daryl Cohen. He's a former prosecutor, criminal defense attorney, entertainment attorney in Atlanta, Georgia, and knows all the parties involved with this very well when you talk about the lawyers and the prosecutors, everything else. Daryl, great to see you. Let's start with the first big change in this case, is that the DA who brought those felony murder charges against Officer Rolfe is now out of office, and there's a new district attorney. Do you think that's going to change anything here? Does that change this case? Does it change the charges?
Well, certainly, Vinny, it doesn't change the facts. Those are going to be what they are. But what does change is that Fonnie, who has now taken Paul Howard's place, is going to give this a second and a third and a fourth look. Now, I want to point out to you, and as you well know, that Paul Howard chose to charge this police officer before, and I repeat, before the GBI's final report was in. That doesn't change the facts, but it clearly changes the way things operate. And I think we're going to have to wait and see exactly what happens and how this case, which is obviously racially charged, coming forth right after Memorial Day weekend, it's going to be very interesting, and I hope that justice prevails.
Well, let's talk about where this trial is going to be. Fulton County, Georgia. Folks around the country don't know much about it, and its cases are very much impacted by where they are. You could take the same trial and put it in 3 different locations. You might get 3 different verdicts, because you have 3 different jury pools. There's a lot of differences. What are your thoughts about a case like this in Fulton County? Specifically, what does Fulton County think of police officers these days?
Well, to start with, Vinny, I wouldn't be at all surprised if when push comes to shove, that venue isn't changed. But assuming it's not, Fulton County is one thing, but City of Atlanta, which is where this took place, which is part of Fulton County, City of Atlanta police officers have been policing with their hands tied behind their back. And this incident, this horrible incident, took place literally in the blink of an eye. And you have to go back to during the Black Lives Matter protest when people were tased, and Paul Howard, the then elected DA, said a taser is a weapon. And then you move forward when this officer, when the victim or the decedent fired the taser at the officer, Paul Howard said, oh, a taser is not a weapon. Well, it either is or it isn't. And I think that it's going to be very interesting. It's racially charged, and I hate it because it ought to be, these are the facts, and that's exactly what it needs to go on. Is it murder? Is it not murder? But we're going to have to wait and see whether or not there's a change of venue and what type of jury that is ultimately selected, if it gets that far.
All right, we shall see. We're going to continue to track this one. Darrell Cohen, always great to see you, my friend.
Nice to see you, Vinny. Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody.